the mastermind behind the plan. The criminals had been caught, the secret tunnel had been discovered, and the strange mystery of the Red-Headed League was finally coming to an end. But Dr. Watson still wanted to understand one thing. How had Sherlock Holmes discovered the truth so quickly? How had he seen through a plan that had fooled everyone else? Holmes explained that the answer was hidden in the smallest details. The criminals had created a story that seemed meaningless, a strange organization for red-haired men, a job that required nothing but copying books, a generous payment for almost no work. To most people, these details appeared random, but Holmes knew that criminals rarely waste time without a reason. Every action had a purpose. The Red-Headed League existed for only one reason: to keep Jabez Wilson away from his shop. The criminals needed hours of freedom. They needed a place where they could work without interruption, and Wilson's shop was the perfect location. Holmes then explained the importance of Vincent Spaulding. The assistant was not simply a hard-working employee. He was the criminal mastermind behind the entire plan. His real name was John Clay, a dangerous criminal known for his intelligence and ability to create complicated schemes. He had disguised himself as an ordinary assistant. He had gained Wilson's trust, and he had created the perfect distraction. The second criminal involved was his partner, who helped him prepare the tunnel. Together, they believed they had designed an impossible crime. But they made one mistake. They underestimated Sherlock Holmes. Holmes revealed that he had recognized the signs from the beginning: the unusual payment, the strange working hours, the location of the shop, the assistant's behavior. Each clue alone meant little, but when placed together, they created the complete picture. This was the true power of deduction: noticing what others ignored, connecting what others separated, finding the truth hidden behind ordinary events. The criminals were taken away, the bank was protected, and Jabez Wilson returned to his normal life. The Red-Headed League disappeared forever. But the story remained, because it showed the world something important about Sherlock Holmes. He did not need dramatic evidence. He did not need luck. He only needed his mind. A simple job, a strange organization, and a few forgotten clues were enough for the greatest detective in London to uncover a criminal plan. For Sherlock Holmes, every mystery had an answer, and every answer began with one thing: observation. The man behind the disguise. Sherlock Holmes sat quietly after hearing Mary Sutherland's story. To most people, the mystery seemed impossible. A man had disappeared. A wedding had been abandoned, and there was no clear explanation. But Holmes did not look at the mystery as a whole. He looked at the small details, because he knew that the truth was often hidden in the smallest moments. He began examining everything Mary had told him about Hosmer Angel. The first thing that caught his attention was the man's appearance. Hosmer always wore dark glasses. He had a quiet voice. He avoided being seen clearly, and he never allowed anyone to discover too much about him. Holmes found this unusual. A person who truly wanted to build a future with someone would not hide every part of himself. Then, Holmes noticed another detail. Hosmer Angel only appeared when Mary's stepfather, James Windibank, was away. Whenever Windibank left London for business, Hosmer suddenly appeared. And whenever Windibank returned, Hosmer disappeared. A coincidence? Perhaps. But Sherlock Holmes did not believe in coincidences. He continued listening as Mary explained more. She revealed that her stepfather did not approve of her social life. He preferred to keep her at home. He even discouraged her from meeting new people. Holmes immediately saw a connection. Someone wanted Mary isolated. Someone wanted her to remain dependent. And someone had created Hosmer Angel for a specific purpose. But who? The answer was hidden in the behavior of the people around her. Holmes examined the letters Hosmer had written, the handwriting, the wording, the strange promises. Everything about them suggested careful planning. Hosmer had made Mary trust him. He had made her believe that he loved her. And most importantly, he had convinced her to promise that she would remain faithful to him forever, even if he disappeared. That promise was the key, because if Mary waited for Hosmer, she would never marry anyone else. Holmes began to understand the true nature of the mystery. This was not a love story. It was a carefully designed trap. A person had created a false identity. A person had used disguise and deception. A person had manipulated Mary's emotions. But Sherlock Holmes still needed one final piece of evidence. Who was behind the mask? Who had created Hosmer Angel? And why would someone go to such lengths to destroy a young woman's happiness? The answer was closer than Mary ever imagined. The mystery was no longer about the missing man. It was about the person who wanted him to disappear. The truth behind Hosmer Angel. Sherlock Holmes had gathered enough clues to see the shape of the mystery. The missing man. The strange promises. The hidden identity. Everything pointed toward one conclusion. Hosmer Angel had never been who he claimed to be. But Holmes needed to uncover the person behind the disguise. He returned to the details of Mary's life. Her family. Her home. And the people who surrounded her. One person stood out more than anyone else. James Windibank, Mary's stepfather. A man who seemed strangely determined to keep her away from the world. Holmes learned that Windibank had a financial reason to control Mary's life. Because of an arrangement in her family, Mary had money of her own. And as long as she remained unmarried, that money benefited the household. But if Mary married, the situation would change. Suddenly, the strange behavior began to make sense. The person who wanted Mary to remain alone had a reason, a powerful reason. Holmes began connecting the final pieces. The timing was too perfect. Hosmer Angel appeared whenever Windibank was away. He knew personal details about Mary. He gained her trust. He encouraged her to make a promise that would prevent her from moving on. And then he vanished. The truth was becoming impossible to ignore. Hosmer Angel was not a stranger. He was a creation, a carefully prepared disguise, a false identity built by someone who knew Mary well. The person behind the mask was James Windibank himself. He had changed his appearance. He had hidden his voice. He had created an imaginary lover. And he had convinced Mary that she had found the perfect man, only to disappear and leave her waiting forever. It was a cruel plan, a plan built not on love, but on selfishness. Dr. Watson was shocked. He asked Holmes how he could discover such a hidden truth from so few details. Holmes explained that the answer was in human behavior. People could hide their faces, they could change their voices, they could create new identities, but they could not easily hide their motives. The most important question was always, who benefits from this? And in Mary's case, the person who benefited from Hosmer Angel's disappearance was the very person who created him. The mystery was solved. But one final question remained. What would Sherlock Holmes do with the truth? Would he expose the man who had deceived Mary? Or would he choose another path? Because sometimes the greatest challenge for a detective is not discovering the truth. It is deciding what to do with it. The final revelation. Sherlock Holmes now understood the entire mystery. The missing man, the false identity, the carefully created illusion. Everything led back to one person, James Windibank. The man who appeared to be protecting Mary Sutherland was actually the person who had deceived her. He had created the character of Hosmer Angel. He had disguised himself. He had changed his voice. He had hidden behind another name. And he had created a false love story only to keep Mary from leaving home and changing her life. It was a cruel deception. But Sherlock Holmes knew that the truth had to be revealed. He sent a message asking James Windibank to visit Baker Street. When Windibank arrived, Holmes carefully watched his reaction. The young man tried to appear calm. He believed that his secret was still safe. But he was facing Sherlock Holmes. And Holmes had already solved the puzzle. The detective explained everything. He described how Hosmer Angel and James Windibank were the same person. He explained how the disguise had worked. He revealed how the mysterious disappearance was planned from the beginning. Windibank was exposed. But instead of showing anger, Holmes remained calm. He had solved the case. He had uncovered the truth. But there was something more important. Mary Sutherland had believed in someone who never truly existed. She had given her heart to an illusion, and that was the saddest part of the mystery. Watson expected Holmes to demand punishment, but Holmes surprised him. He decided not to pursue the matter further. He believed that Windibank would eventually face the consequences of his own actions. A man who could betray someone so close to him would never truly escape his own character. The case was closed. Mary returned to her life with a painful truth, but also with the knowledge that she had not been forgotten. Sherlock Holmes had seen through the deception. He had uncovered the identity hidden behind the mask. And once again, his greatest weapon was not strength, not authority, not luck. It was observation. The ability to see what others ignored. The ability to understand human nature. And the ability to find the truth hidden beneath appearances. The case of Hosmer Angel became another remarkable chapter in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. A mystery of love, a mystery of deception, a mystery of identity. Because in the world of Sherlock Holmes, the greatest disguises are not always worn on the face. Sometimes they are hidden in the intentions of the human heart.